Greetings and welcome to Chant a Psalm a Day. Today's Psalm is 11. Psalm 11. And today's Psalm is about the temple. And that temple that is righteousness. And when we look at this temple, this place, it's sacred. And the sacred place of this temple is righteousness. So that righteousness lives and is in this place. It's not displaced. It is a happy place, a sacred place. And when you are sad and broken hearted and in a sadness, that sacred place picks you up and takes you to a place of happiness and fulfillment of righteousness, mercy, and love. So the title of Psalm 11 is "The Most Righteousness is in a Sacred Place." And this psalm, as all the psalms, are translated into words of empowerment. And these words of empowerment hold the truth of what God represents for I. It may not be for everyone, the translation. Everyone may want to stay in a patriarchal, white supremacist lifestyle and be under that. And that's fine if some people want to do that. I, on the other hand, seek for what is above. And what is above is liberation. And it's a free from the persecution and oppression of sadness and unhappiness. Unhappy at a job, unhappy in a relationship, unhappy in life, unhappy, all these places we find ourselves to be in unhappiness. Oh, my light went out. And in these places, it is void of light. There's no light. And when there's no light, it becomes maladaptive. You adapt to the confusion. You adapt to the conflict, the twists and the turns. And you're constantly adapting. So when we look at the psalm today, it's very, very powerful because it is showing that righteousness, goodness, and mercy is within. It's within. And it rests in this sacred, happy place. A temple, your body is a temple, and it is a temple because it's living. I don't even want to give it the word body because body is also used to refer to something that's not living, So when we look at this living vessel, right? It's a vessel. And it's a vessel like my chanting bowl. is a vessel, right? And in this bowl, I could put things in that's going to depend on the material I put in. Is it going to, damage it, or is it going to make it dirty? Do I have to take the stuff out and clean it? So the psalm today is representative of that, of yourself, okay, being that place of sacredness and teaching that to the next generation. Foods that we give children are sometimes lacking or void of light. And what is that light? That light is nutrients, right? It's that chlorophyll in that food, that sustenance. However, we are, or, folks are sacrificing their children to these foods. So we're looking at this as a sacred place. It's a sacred place. And that sacred place is within each of I and I. Each of you out there has a sacred, space, place, vessel, and that is your body. What I call your goodie is good. So that goodie is moving on a journey that either is led by your heart or led by your mind, or it's led, by both. When we look at leading our journey, that leading is righteousness. That leading is mercy. That leading is kindness. That leading is faithfulness and compassion. That leading is what is called in religiosity God, Lord, Jesus, Jehovah, Buddha, Allah, all of the names of these different outshoots of what is right. One wants to be above everyone else, and this one wants to put to death these ones, and this one is, and it's all this war and confusion. We have to stop that. So in the psalm today, Psalm 11, it's to the choir master, and it's a psalm of David. And it's titled, because I have an app, it's a Bible study app. And it's, the Psalms has a title. So Psalm 11, the Lord is in his holy temple. Psalm 12, the faithful have vanished. So in the Psalm today, 11, because today is the 27th of June, and it is Psalm 11 for today. And the Psalm resonates with me as I traverse my journey and my next steps in my career, in my relationships, and making sure they're together and they're cooperating. So my relationship personally has to be supporting my career and what I'm about. And that individual has to know that they're joining a revolution. This isn't just to get a piece of ass. This is joining a revolution to eat right, a revolution to have a mindset of righteousness, that I'm right, that I'm worthy, I'm valued. The job isn't valuing me, I'm going to move on to somewhere else. Working as a team together in that relation, in that ship, on that journey that you're traversing. And sometimes we have to leave or abandon the ship because of the passengers that are on there that are not leading with righteousness with them, with their sacred vessel. They're not eating right. They're eating all the flesh of the earth. And the flesh of the earth that they're eating is coming in tiny bits inside of a pastry or something that's disguised as, oh, that looks good, and you have to see the picture of the food, and that's what you want, and then you get something that's been created that has all kinds of things in it, and then next minute you have allergies, you can't breathe, all this stuff is happening. So we have to really look at bringing it together in a fullness, similar to what I'm talking about. My career and my relationship has to be supportive, right, of each other. In that same way, each one of I and I have to be supportive of our vessel, our temple that is used to traverse this journey that we're on. And in that journey that we're on, we have to maintain our vessel. We have to maintain it. And in maintaining our vessel, it's similar to a vehicle. You got to pay for it. You got to maintain it. You got to do this and that. So your vessel has to be maintained. You have to go out there on retreats. You have to go and swim. You have to go and walk. You have to go and, move your body, exercise your body. And you have a partner, that partner and you supposed to work each other's bodies out to exhaustion and loving it, right? And wanting to be part of another in your vessel, sharing your vessel with someone else. And the psalm today really rings true and rings home for me that I cannot just give my vessel away just to anyone, especially one that I just met, or I have to go and I have to work my vessel out in different ways. And working my vessel out in different ways and not in a relationship with someone else is where I'm going to have to traverse and change. So change is good. We welcome change. Change is powerful. Change can, move progress. That you can't have progress without change. And each one of us is progressing in our journey. And we may not be with the people we were with 6 years ago. We may not be with the people we were with 10 years ago. We may not be with the people we were with 20 years ago. However, we still have righteousness. That hasn't left. We still have it. And when you're feeling brokenhearted, or you have, you know, felt betrayed in some way, you have to rise above and go towards, kindness, mercy, love, truth, and righteousness. Because I have a quote that the saddest thing about betrayal is betrayal never comes from your enemies. You know that that's what they're going to do, betray you. Betrayal comes from ones that you trust the most, that you put your trust in, that they're not going to do that, right? They're going to, tell you when, they've moved on, and not you have to ask them, oh, did you meet someone? Are you seeing someone else? Yep, I did. I'm not seeing someone else, but I did meet someone, So having to ask that, and get the answer instead of it being told to me, that felt like betrayal. And that's sad. The saddest thing about betrayal is it never comes from your enemies. It comes from those you trust most. Children can betray parents. Parents can betray children. Husbands can betray wives. Wives can betray husbands. Teachers can betray students. Students can betray. Betrayal is a bi-directional. Betrayal is, betrayal is, it's, a violation of that trust. You feel overwhelmed. So that betrayal of not telling me, instead I having to ask, and I'm glad that the person was honest, felt that way. So when I look at the Psalm today, it's proportionate to what I am going through and what I need. And that's why I chant a Psalm a day. And I'm going to look at these videos, later on, and see how my journey, I have healed from this change in my life. Okay, it's a big change. Okay, it's a change where I don't want to call myself single or sin. I don't use that. I am married to righteousness. That's who I'm going to be married to. I'm married to righteousness and love and kindness and mercy and compassion. That's who I'm married to. So I posted, I changed my relationship status into married. I'm married to righteousness. So that to me is So I have to put that on here, that that is who I'm married to. Yeah. That's who I'm married to. So I am, that is, and doing this psalm today gave me that revelation. Gave me that revelation that we are married, even though you are married to someone physically, you're ultimately really married to righteousness, mercy, love, kindness. That is who you're married to first. You're married to that. And in any relationship, that should be your focus. Your focus should be doing what is right, what is righteousness. And I always went against that for the person. Knowing what was right, I didn't do what was, I went against that for the person. And ultimately, I'm the one who is left holding the bag. And it's fine because I know righteousness, I know mercy, love, kindness, and compassion is going to elevate that for I. In the sadness, I'm going to be lifted up out of sadness into gladness, into happiness and love, and surrounded by that, giving thanks for that in all that I do. So in the Most High, I ask the Most High, that is righteousness, that is mercy and love, that that the translation of the words in my heart and the meditation in my mind, the words of my mouth, the meditation in my heart and my mind be acceptable in the sight of righteousness, mercy, love, compassion, in the sight of that. Okay? And that is personal for everyone. However, we have the laws of Moses that tell us how to deal with each other and how to deal with having faith in that unknown, faith in what is to come, faith in the knowledge of a future of life and life in abundance. So that faith and that knowledge gives a great bouncing off, a good foundation for elevation. And that elevation takes time and growth and maturity. And it may take 3 broken relationships. It may take 4, divorces. And it may take years. However, knowing that righteousness is where you go to, that's your go-to, is to stay on that righteous path, that good place. So the Most High is in that place. Righteousness is in that place. And in Psalm 11, verse 1, in that place is where I take safety. That's where I take safety, in that place of righteousness. And then in verse 1, there's a question. How can one speak to one's life? Flee as a bird to the mountain. Verse 2 now. For behold, the wicked bend the bow. The wicked have fitted an arrow to the string, to shoot in the dark at the upright in heart. Yes. And this is going to happen. But no weapons formed against I shall prosper. So the weapon formed against I to shoot at my heart and break it into pieces is not going to prosper. Not going to prosper. So verse 3, I don't deal with ifs, but verse 3 has a if. I don't deal with if. When the foundations are destroyed, what can the righteous do? Like, what can they do? What can they do? When the foundations of righteousness is destroyed, what can they do? When there's no righteousness, there's only violent video games. There's only violence and arguments and discord and confusion and strife and pulling and tugging. What can the righteous do? What? What can the righteous do? So, this psalm is about righteousness. So just for everyone to see that righteousness that I'm talking about is is evidence in this psalm, that it's better to err on the side of that. It's better to eat right. It's better to talk right. It's better to read, to find words and what they mean. Some people use words and they don't know what they mean, and they use it in this way that is hurtful. And they end up being misunderstood because they're not taking the time to read something. So because I'm a librarian, because I'm a professor, because I'm a reader, because I enjoy the company of books, I have to find someone, a partner that does that same thing, that likes, that enjoys that loves to be about that, and be about reading and be about writing, you know. I remember being with someone, you know, my children's dad, and I said, let's, go to the hills and just write. Just, write. Just let's move up to the hills and just live off the earth and just write. Didn't want to do that. Now, because that didn't happen, and the outcome of that is you're ill and frail, and you're on dialysis, you have kidney failure. This is happening to your body. Everything that you've been doing to your body is catching up now as you are aging. And as we get up in age, we make excuses that is age. We use that as the excuse, and not looking at what we are doing to our bodies, right? And our minds. We're not looking at that. So reading a book, I'm gonna that is what I do. And I have let me see, these are the books that I'm reading right now. These are the books that I'm reading right now. These are the books. Respect. Leave the cat. Come here. Leave it. Come here. Come. I said come here. See, that's what happens. You want to go run off into cats and get in. You don't have boundaries. He throws himself in the cats. But these are the books that I'm reading. How to Say Babylon. I'm almost finished with that. Coming Home. Brittany Griner. I read her first book, actually. Unbought and Unbossed. This is Shirley Chisholm. Finding Me. This is Viola Davis. I have 2 copies of this. I started reading this out loud to my ex-fiance. And I was reading this out loud to my ex-fiance, and she never picked up the book to read it herself. So I stopped. And I'm reading this book, The Woman They Could Not Silence. And this is the shocking story of a woman who dared to fight back. So these are the books that I'm reading. I read a chapter of each book, and I've been putting this off. So because I've been putting this off, I am no longer putting it off. I'm going to be in there because it's summertime. And part of summertime is that. Relaxing, enjoying, and all that. Okay. So the foundations, what can the righteous do? Right? What? What can the righteous do? And in verse 4, it speaks of this happy place of righteousness. Righteousness is in this happy place. And that happy place is within our vessel, okay? Our goodies. And righteousness's throne, there's a throne where righteousness sits, okay? And we interpret that as humans. We interpret that throne to be majestic, to be shining this light, because it shines light on oppressive. It shines light where there is no light, right? Where there's a void of light. I don't want to use the word black or darkness to represent a negative. Therefore, we look at this righteousness and we interpret it as humans, and we give it names. We give it names. We give it labels, and we give it these attributes, and these attributes become representative of that righteousness, and it ultimately always circles around and returns to that place of righteousness. It always circles around there. So we see how in the psalm today that righteousness dwells in this sacred place within each of I and I. And that righteous throne is above. It's above. So when you seek for what's above, right? Seek for what's above. You are going to manifest the righteousness of all your purpose and gifts that you have to attribute to your surroundings, to give, to serve, right? We don't serve anymore. What we serve is money. We go and we work for money, right? And when we go and we work for money, we may not be happy where we're working, but the money is what motivates us. That's not the case with me. I don't want to be working somewhere where I'm not happy, right? And I have gone to different universities, once you get a PhD, you are on the market at different universities, and that's just how it is. You end up going to different universities until you find the one that you can settle and get tenure, and that tenure gives you a future of a retirement. In other words, you're working for that retirement. So in that space and time, we have to put our vessel within spaces that is going to maintain our vessel, uplift our vessel, give our vessel the fortitude to navigate our journey on this planet, right? While we are on this earth navigating our journey, we're going to meet people and we're going to invite people into our lives, and we're going to give, and we're going to, take. And sometimes it's not balanced. You are giving more than, you are receiving. That happens in relationships that are not built on just kindness and love, and that's it. But when it's built on money, exchange of money, this is what it results in, right? One person feeling they're not valued, the money is more valued, I'm not valued. So with all that being said, we have to empower our vessels, because in Psalm 11, righteousness dwells in those vessels, in our goodies, or people call body. I don't use the word body because it's also referencing something that's not alive. So in that place is where righteousness is. And that throne is above. And righteousness's eyes see, and righteousness's eyelids test the children of man, or test the children of humans. Okay? Are you going to teach the children about healthy eating? Are you going to teach the children about healthy viewing or seeing or playing, healthy play? What is healthy play? Healthy play is not sitting in front of a TV, right? Watching TV, or just sitting, being programmed. The TV now is programming the individual. And that programming of that individual is, or necessitates, the unfortunate reality of enslavement in another way. And I feel like I'm the Harriet Tubman of 2024 or something, where I'm trying to tell people come out of that. And some people don't. They are so stuck in that space and time that they're not seeing it right there. And it's not that they're not seeing it, is that it's not for them to see, because it's written that many are called and few are chosen. And I feel that is so very true, because many are called. Many are called to speak about God, Lord, Jesus, Jehovah, Selassie, Rastafari, all the religions out there. Many are called to speak about that, but few are chosen to really know that it's about righteousness. It's about goodness, mercy, and love. Few are chosen to know that. So in the Psalm today, the Most High tests the righteous. Yep, the Most High tests the righteous. Righteous tests righteous. So when we look at that, you ever heard it? They say game knows game. People know who people are because they're that way themselves. So how is this place that's above, and the eyes and the eyelids testing, because righteousness has eyes to see, right? Righteousness has eyes and eyelids It's very specific. This is Psalm 11, verse 5. So, thank you for the compliment. Um, it's interesting because I don't have my hair wrapped today. It's out, and I have my, you know, shoulders out and all that. And someone came on and made a compliment that I'm pretty, and that when I just saw that comment, it's similar to what I'm reading here in verse 4, that righteousness is I see. So this person he sees me as pretty, and righteousness has eyelids. So the eyelids, can close, it can open, right? And this is what tests the children of man, because what goes on in the dark must come to the light, right? It must. What you feel in your heart is going to come out eventually. So the Most High is in that space of righteousness within your temple, within your vessel. And that throne of righteousness is above. It's above. Seek for what is above, not for what is below. And righteousness's eyes have seen and have tested the children to see who is out there doing what their heart is telling, is speaking to them. Are their thoughts, are their words and their actions together? Or are their thoughts, they're thinking one thing and they're totally speaking something different, and then they're doing something totally different from what they're speaking and what they're thinking? That is confusion. So when we look at the Psalm and we look at how this testing of the children of man, in verse 5, it speaks of tests the righteous. Test the righteous. And righteousness does not love wrongness, wickedness, and violence. So righteousness tests righteousness. Yeah. So always think about the source of who is correcting you. Okay? Who is correcting you? Because sometimes we hold people in authority as perfection, and they're not. Everyone is imperfect. They are human. They're going to make mistakes. But because they have a badge and they have this authority from the powers and principalities of this world, they are feeling empowered, and they take that power and they disempower someone else. And that is not good. So that's why righteousness is going to test righteousness. And the explanation of that is that the life of righteousness does not coexist with wicked and violence. You check what I'm talking about? So wicked and wrong can come in different forms. Okay? Wicked and wrong could come in different forms. It could come in, the form of abuse. Yeah, it could become in the form of abuse. And it could be physical abuse, intellectual abuse, where you're calling someone stupid. It could be an emotional abuse, and it can be in social abuse. So when we define wicked and wrongness, we're looking at that affecting these different areas of your life. That's why I created pies, because pies are going to revolutionize how we look at ourselves and how we look at where we are in life and where we're going and where we want to go and why we're stuck not going there, why we are still, living in our mama's house, why we are still, not progressing, why we still don't have a vehicle but everybody else does. Why is the big questions. So verse 5 is very, very important, because this testing, in school you get to take tests all the time. You're testing to see whether you know the material, right? And righteousness is testing whether you know what the right thing is to do. And the right thing always is sometimes hard, but you got to do it. So righteousness is inside of each of I and I. And in verse 6 now, and there's only two more verses. Verse 6 is talking about coals, raining coals on the wicked. Okay? And coals is hot. And then it keeps on with fire and sulfur and a scorching wind is the portion of the cup of the wicked, of the wrongness, of the violence. So that's why I tell parents, stop the violent video games. Get it out of your home. Get books instead. Put books inside of your home instead of violent video games, right? That is important. So that you will not suffer in the long run, because you don't want coals of fire and a scorching wind. The wind is blowing, but it's hot. It's hot wind blowing. You don't want that to be your cup. You want your cup to be righteousness. You want your cup to be love, compassion, honesty, integrity. You want your cup to be that. So in that righteousness, that righteous works is going to manifest. And you're going to be standing upright. You're going to have an uprightness. And you're going to behold the face of righteousness. Yes, you're going to behold the face of righteousness. And the upright shall behold, and that's why I highlighted verse 7. So verse 7 is my highlight for the day. For righteousness is, it just is. It's omnipresent. When you wake up and you breathe the air, that's righteousness. When you are walking safely to your car, that's righteousness, right? And your life, once it's just about that, you take out all the violence, you take out all the wrongness, because it's wrong to eat the flesh of the earth, bottom line, right? It's wrong to me. But people do that, and that's fine if that's what they want to do, but not around where I am. Okay? So fire and sulfur and a scorching wind shall be the portion of the cup of the wicked. Because the Most High loves righteousness, because that is what that Most High is. It's all about that. It's like a ball of righteousness. all balled into one. And that omnipresent gives and loves righteous works. When you are doing righteous works, that righteousness loves it and is going to reward you. And you're going to see the face of righteousness. You're going to see that face of righteousness. So, the upright shall behold the face of righteousness. Right? Always. So, we have to remember that, and we have to move with that. When we're moving on, we have to go with that knowledge and that standing firm in righteousness, because there's so many things that could get us off of that righteousness. According to the Psalm, it starts off with that. It's, you're taking safety in this righteousness. So how can your life speak of wanting to flee to the mountain? Because in verse 2, the wicked are getting their bows ready and getting their ammunition fitted, and they're trying to shoot at the righteous in their heart. And like how they talk about Cupid's arrow, and it shoots you in the heart, and you're like, you're just in love with the person. So this is not that way. The wicked are bending the bow, and they fitted their arrow to the string to shoot in the dark at the upright in heart. However, it did not speak of that they are going to get the upright. None of the Psalms talk about the upright being forsaken, none of it. So when the foundations are destroyed, this is the question in verse 3, what can the righteous do? And then we talked about that. So look at this video in its entirety, and you will get the translation of this Psalm 11. Righteousness is in the vessels, the sacred happy places of creation. And that's how I'm going to translate that title. Okay. Righteousness is in the sacred, happy places of creation. That's where righteousness is. Selah and Selah again. Here ends the Psalm for today. We kind of ran up into 60 minutes of the Psalm, but I thank you for sticking with it. And have a blessed day, everyone. Have a blessed day. Reach out,